Oops, we can't hear her.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay.
Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, do we know if Olivier will be joining us?
Is your, you might
I
just
have
say-
not heard.
Oh, he's just coming on. Okay, great.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. No one else is joining us?
Tony will join us here in 1 second.
Okay. Good morning, Bill. And everyone else.
Good morning, Barbara,
Morning.
and everyone else too.
Tony.
Hey, good morning. Got you. I'm just over here. Good. Okay, ready to go.
Great. Thank you. And the recording's on, right? We're all set?
Yes,
Kim?
Mayor.
Good morning. It is Monday, January 9th, 2023. I'm Barb Noseworthy, the mayor of Durango, and this is a city council special meeting. Could we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Baxter,
Present.
Counselor Bosman's,
Present.
Counselor Buell,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef. Here. And Mayor Noseworthy.
Present. Thank you. I just want to give a point that as you know, I live downtown, and when the train comes, I will have to go to mute. So Melissa, you may need to step in for me at that time. Thank you.
Okay,
This is a discuss. We are meeting this morning in part to discussion and possible action replacing Tony Maestris as interim city attorney with William Tuttle and authorizing the mayor to execute the employment agreement with William Tuttle. That's the purpose of our meeting. I'm going to open up with Jose and Tony. Do you want to just give a recap of what's happened since our last meeting?
Sure, Mayor and Council, at the end of the meeting on last Tuesday, I was given direction to enter or to negotiate a contract with Mr. Tuthill based on some of the negotiation parameters that were discussed in executive session. I have done so. Mr. Tuthill, in his contract, which is listed in the agenda comments, does give an overview of the things that we had discussed. I'll just hit them as a highlights as I can right now. $18,000 a month flat fee, up to $15,000 that he's able to utilize in outside legal services due to the part of having a vacancy in our assistant city attorney position. Also, he will maintain the office hours open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. He will serve at least a minimum of 30 hours a week, unless of dire illness or an advanced planned vacation. There is the contract will automatically terminate upon the appointment of a city attorney. However, there is a transition ability in there for upon mutual agreement of us and Mr. Tuthill for him to provide transition services up to 30 days based on the same compensation that's within this contract. He will also be at council meetings, whether in person or by Zoom or call-in. He has agreed to do so. Obviously, in those, again, I will have the catch-all of in case of if dire illness or a pre-planned vacation would be the exceptions to those. And then finally, and it just slipped my mind as I was going on the last portion of it. That Mr. Tuthill will be in person at our January 17th regular council meeting and will be there in person to meet the council and do that, as well as come in to meet staff and begin developing those relationships with us as well. So we're very excited to welcome Mr. Tuthill on. The expense of this contract should be covered by the vacancy savings that we incur with not having a city attorney position or a assistant city attorney position, which is about $30,000 a month of salary savings. So that should cover the expenses that we have here, because it's not anticipated that the $15,000 a month would be used at a maximum every month, just there in case there'd be times of needing that outside services. And that concludes my presentation. Tony?
I don't think I have anything to add other than to thank Bill and thank council for helping make this happen. And I think the city is going to be in a very good place.
Okay, we have thank you both, and thank you for your work during this intense period. There's a motion put forward as recommended. Is there anyone, we will go into discussion, but is there anyone who wishes to propose a motion?
I would propose that we accept the contract that was agreed upon with Jose and Mr. Tuthill for city attorney services.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'd like to just, go ahead, Melissa.
You're on mute.
So sorry. I was just going to thank Mr. Tuthill for being available and willing to help. Looking forward to working with you. I really appreciate your work that you've done with City of Thornton. And to leave with the keys to the city, to me, is very, very significant. We only have given out, when I was mayor, one set of keys that I recall, and it was to a gentleman who helped us through the 416 fire. It was massive. Huge impact on our community, and he'll forever be remembered. So to me, when you told us that, it meant a lot, and I appreciate that relationship that you've built with them. I hope we get to do the same with you. So I really wanted to
just as proof positive that I'm not lying about it. I don't know if you guys have the video. Am I in there?
Yeah, we have the video. You're in it.
Okay.
There it is.
Nice.
That's
okay.
Fabulous.
I wasn't making it up.
Nice. I also would like, I'd just like to thank Tony. I think this may be our last opportunity as a whole to be here with you. I just want to thank you for your willingness, first of all, for coming in under really difficult circumstances, for your willingness to help us in any way you felt you could, for your real self-awareness to be able to say when you needed help and how we might be able to get that help that you needed. And while I am very sorry to lose you, I do understand your decision. So I want to recognize you in that. And Bill, I want to say welcome. look forward to working with you in the interim, and I believe that we are have great legal advice. So I'm very pleased with how this worked out. Tony and Jose, thank you for your speed in executing this.
Mayor, if you don't mind my stepping on your toes, I'm just going to say I tried my best to convince Tony to stick around. I think he'll stick around for at least 2 weeks. I'll be down there in person next week. So he may be around for your meeting as well. He and I have had numerous conversations and quite a few emails in the last few days because as I promised you, and I would do my best to get up to speed as quickly as I could. And I absolutely can guarantee you that Tony has been working hard this last weekend to make that happen. And if I could possibly persuade him to stick around longer, I would do my absolute best, but I've been trying.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just, through advice here, I've just been, I need to amend my motion. So I'm going to make a new motion, and then if someone wants to second that, that would be great. So I would recommend that by motion, we replace Tony Maestas as interim city attorney with William Tuthill and authorize the mayor to execute the employment agreement with William Tuthill.
I'll second that amended
Perfect.
motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, amended. And now, any more discussion before I call for the vote? All right, let's have that vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Baxter,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes, thank you.
Counselor Buell,
Yes.
and Mayor Noseworthy.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, William.
Thank you. It's going to be an adventure.
Yes.
So we will go on to the second item, which is item 3.1, and I will read this through the full title. This is discussion and possible action concerning a motion to hold an executive session to conduct a conference with legal counsel for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions as permitted in CRS 24-6-4024B, specifically to discuss matters related to Matt Roan's public record request R000046121922, seeking the recording of the executive session held by City Council on December 12th, 2022, and Mr. Roan's subsequent note of intent to file a legal action against the city in district court under the Colorado Open Records Act. Is there a motion to proceed into executive session?
So moved.
No, we have to have, by following
Okay.
it, we need you to read the whole thing again, please.
Okay, we should have Kim read it then.
Well, unless Jessica has it.
I have it pulled up, I think. Here you go. Okay. I move to go into an executive session to conduct a conference with legal counsel for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions as permitted in CRS 24-6-4024B, specifically to discuss matters related to Matt Roan's public record request. R000046-121922, seeking the recording of the executive session held by City Council on December 12th, 2022, and Mr. Roan's subsequent notice of intent to file legal action against the city in district court under the Colorado Open Records Act.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jessica. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll have the vote, please.
Counselor Baxter,
Yes.
Counselor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Youssef,
Yes.
and Mayor Noseworthy.
Yes, thank you. We'll go into executive session. You should have the links that Faye sent, so please follow those. Does anybody have an email from Olivier? Is he able to get in? Oh, here he comes. Great. Okay. We have everyone present? Yes, okay. The time is now 9:51 and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Melissa Youssef, Jessica Buell, Olivier Bosmans, Jose Madrigal, Tony Maestros, Bill Tuttle, myself, Barbara Noseworthy, and for a portion of the time, Kim Baxter, and the city clerk, because she has also been involved with this, was sat in with the mute and her video off. It was available should we have questions. For the record, council met in executive session for discussion and possible action concerning a motion to hold an executive session to conduct a conference with legal counsel for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions as permitted in CRS 24-6-402-4B, specifically to discuss matters related to Matt Roan's public record request R000046121922, seeking the recording of the executive session held by City Council on December 12th, 2022, and Mr. Roan's subsequent notice of intent to file a legal action against the city in district court under the Colorado Open Records Act. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action related to a notice of intent to file legal action in district court against the city from Matt Roan. Is there any discussion or motion under item 4.1 action items?
Mayor, we can't talk about what was discussed in executive session, but I'm wondering if we can get a summary or advice from Mr. Tuthill on this publicly. What information we can share. Is this possible or feasible to share what we can?
If that question's directed at me,
Yes.
yes. I would say that we had a discussion as to whether or not City Council's December 12th, 2022 meeting was properly conducted as an executive session, and whether you are interested in releasing any portion of it that doesn't have to be released. And that there is a state law that allows you to have personnel discussions that are confidential and are not open to the public. And it appears that that's what you did on the 12th of December, 2022.
Thank you. And Bill, I'm not certain, I went through the list. I'm not certain if I mentioned your name as being present in
You
the
did.
meeting. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any comments? I'm also reminded that from my understanding, Robert rules, when at all possible, you're supposed to put any motion into a positive action rather than a negative action. We have not always done that. We have had other actions, but I did want to see if there's any motion. I'm not hearing any motion or any.
And I don't know that you need a motion. A
Right.
little direction to staff would be helpful as to whether you, because my understanding at the moment is that staff has taken the position that this was a properly noticed executive session, that the purpose of the executive session was appropriately carried out, and that under the law, you would not ordinarily disclose that. And absent any direction to the contrary, I think staff is going to continue with that approach. And if anyone wishes to challenge that in a legal action, they may do so. And that is the likely consequence of proceeding with the current course of events. But you don't necessarily have to have a motion. I would probably like to see one if you wanted to disclose the material, but otherwise staff is going to stay the course.
Thank you. I see Olivia, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. I think this is an unfortunate situation again. During the meeting on December 12th, I had mentioned during the public part as well that I had raised concerns. I believe we need to be transparent, and we could have done so in the first place. The interim city attorney, Mr. Tuttle, has not yet had the opportunity to listen to that executive session meeting. And my preference would be to provide direction during this meeting for the attorney to listen to that meeting. I am not in favor of lawsuits, but I also think transparency, especially when executive sessions or discussions behind closed doors are not necessary, is important for our community to have trust and confidence in governance. We can disclose those parts. There is the option to disclose those parts of the executive session meeting that, if any, that are not personnel related, but associated with the functioning of the legal department. So for me, the first step that I would like to have done is for the interim city attorney to review the meeting and provide ideally, if there is sections that are not related directly to personnel matters, but to the function of the legal department, to disclose it and prevent ourselves out of lawsuit.
Thank you. Does any other counselor have comments to say about this potential case before the city or our council's advice?
Sure. A couple things. Number one, I'm sorry that Councillor Baxter is not here for the vote, but for any action we may take or direction we may give. Number two, I just also wanted to suggest, I don't know if we want to publicly discuss the fact that Councillor Buell, you know, your ability to provide direction and or not, just for the record, you may want to discuss that. And I'll let you just respond to that first before I respond to other comments.
Sure. So for the public, I wasn't in that executive session. I had another meeting and I came right after that executive session. But according to our interim city attorney, I can, even though I haven't heard or listened to the session, I can provide my input and my direction in terms of do we think that we should be releasing these tapes if the city attorney, Tony Maestas, who was the interim then, says that nothing was out of bounds during the meeting. I support having our staff, or especially our appointees, very candid in those conversations. And if we're just going to release tapes because someone is challenging again an executive session, then I think that would be a negative impact on our executive sessions, and I don't appreciate that. And so while I can't sit here and say that nothing, you know, was out of bounds in that particular executive session, I trust our interim city attorney. I trust the other counselors, Councillor Youssef, Councillor Noseworthy, and Councillor Baxter, who agree that nothing was out of bounds. When someone needs assistance with their job, I hope that they can always, you know, feel comfortable saying that. And so I support, just from my 2 cents coming in, I support not releasing the tape. So does that help, Melissa?
That's very helpful. Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that that was part of the public record. Also, if I can, I would just love to to see if Mr. Tuthill can provide just general guidance publicly on when you have executive sessions, and when, in this case, that executive session was around a personnel related matter, just the importance of why those executive sessions are in private and in executive session, and state statute around why that is done versus open meetings. And also just, to, and the reason why I want to have that discussion is because there was a note that we're trying to be transparent. That is that has always been very, very instrumental to how I conduct business as one counselor on Durango City Council. I've always wanted to be transparent. I recognize that there are several instances in which we go into executive session, and I want to honor I believe in honoring those commitments for the health and safety of the entire community and the organization. So if you could please just reiterate for us, Mr. Tuthill, why personnel issues in particular are allowed by state statute to be held in executive session, and why that might be important for organizations.
Okay. Let me start by indicating that the state statute encourages exactly what you have described, which is transparency, that public business is to be conducted in front of the public. I've often told folks, it's kind of amazing if you go down to the legislature and just, it would be totally rude if you did it at a restaurant and stood next to two people having a conversation, but you can go down to the legislature and listen to two people having a conversation, stand right there in their face and listen to it. But that said, the legislature has acknowledged that there are certain topics, legal advice, real estate transactions, negotiations and personnel matters, security and safety issues, that you are entitled to have in private, and that there's nothing wrong about that. And particularly with personnel matters, I think in general, you want to encourage candor. In a decent personnel discussion, you discuss not only what people are doing well, but what they could do better at. And nobody really wants to have that discussion, even though you work for the government, in public. And the law recognizes that. And part of that discussion may involve, your qualifications, the scope of the performance that you're being asked to be involved with. And so it may involve the office, the roles and responsibilities. And in my mind, those are within an acceptable boundary. And I'm not telling you anything that I'm not prepared to tell the district court judge, which is that, you may or may not agree that that's within the boundaries, but it's an appropriate interpretation to look at a person's job description, the scope of the expectations, and how well they're going to be able to fulfill those roles. And that may involve whether they need more staff, whether they need more money, whether they need more training, whether they need better direction from city council. It's, to me, that is an appropriate level of personnel discussion. And in my mind, it is within what the law permits and anticipates. Okay, you guys aren't looking for a loophole here. This is part of the way the law is written.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. We've heard from all other counselors. I'd like to make a statement as well, which is just basically that I was in the meeting. I take those meetings very seriously, that we not stray. I believe we did not do anything straying in that meeting. After the meeting, I asked our interim city attorney again for his professional opinion, because none of us are lawyers. I asked his professional opinion, and we've heard from him. I've also heard from our now interim city attorney, his professional opinion. In my view, we did nothing incorrect outside of the boundary. And I also believe, Mr. Tuttle, you said it so eloquently, why we need to have these options to have candid discussions. So I cannot support releasing this tape with regard to you hearing the tape, now that you're on council, you have the opportunity to listen to it at all. We do not necessarily have to give you permission. You are our city attorney. So if there were a vote, I don't know if there will be or not, but I do not support, to provide you with the direction, I do not support releasing this tape. Is there any, I want to provide an opportunity if anyone wants to call for a motion. Otherwise, I want to make certain Mr. Tuttle has a sense of direction. Mr. Tuttle, do you feel you have direction from council?
I feel I have a pretty good sense of direction here. And I'm also going to tell you, and for the benefit of any member of the public who's watching, I am not afraid in any executive session, if I think you guys are straying, to corral you back in. And so, you know, that's part of my job. Every elected body I've ever represented has said, keep us out of trouble. And one of the ways you do that is you keep people on the straight and narrow. So I can assure you and the public that in any future executive sessions, I'm going to do my best to make sure we stay within the bounds of the law. And I don't have any reason to think you didn't in this case. But as long as I'm the interim city attorney, I'm not afraid to speak up.
Thank you. And I want to emphasize it's your opinion that you have no reason to believe that we strayed out of the boundaries. I'd like to
It is my current opinion.
Thank you. I think we will appreciate continued support, but I also believe that we have had excellent advice from our previous city attorney and also through Tony, our interim city attorney. Is there any other item that anything to be raised? I'm giving him a
The only
last
thing I would like to
opportunity.
say is thank you for appointing me as the interim city attorney. I will be down there in person next week. I look forward to meeting you in person, as well as Tony, Jose, and members of the executive staff. They have already set me up with quite a few meetings this week, and I'm trying to get myself up to speed. So
Thank you. On that note, hearing no other comments, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for your attendance. And Tony, Jose, and Bill, thank you for your counsel and support.